Alright, so I'm going to talk about bar chords in this video. So I'm going to split this up into two parts. So this one is just going to be general background, the little bit of theory behind them, what they are obviously, and ways you can, just general ways you can prove them. In the next video then I'm going to talk about, how to, the actual chords themselves, how to put them together and whatnot. Okay, so if you already know a thing or two about bar chords, you may want to skip around, but if you're finding them difficult, then you'll probably find something in this that might make them a bit easier. So first of all, what is a bar chord? So a bar chord is a chord shape taken up the fretboard with all of the strings, or most of the strings, held down a fret below the shape. So in other words, let's say I want to take A minor here. Let's say I want to take that up the fretboard. I want basically just a higher version of A minor, right? So I can't just do this, right? So let's say we want to go up by 3 frets, okay? So 1, 2, 3. What I end up with is not so good, right? And obviously the problem is because the ones I'm actually holding down, they're coming up just fine. So that's fine, but these ones on the outside that I was never holding down to begin with, they're just being left behind, so the chord doesn't maintain its proper shape. So now we took it up by 3 frets. Now these are were open in the original one, so if they're to be taken up by 3 frets, they need to be held down on the 3rd fret. So we hold all of them down, well, in this case 5, we'll get to that, and then we put the chord shape on top of that, and there we go. So there's a proper chord. So now the great thing about these is that they're mobile, okay? I can just as easily just take this whole shape, bring it up one, bring it up however many, down here. Okay, and each one of those is its own chord. So for example, this was C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, so we'll get into all of that. So that's the good thing about them, is you can just put them anywhere and they open up the whole fretboard to you. So they're extremely valuable. So that's the payoff. Now, on the other side of that coin, though, is, of course, they are very, very difficult. Okay, make no bones about it. They're notorious for that, so that's why I'm making this video, is just to make them a bit easier. Now, there's two aspects to it. There's the theory side of it, which you don't need to go too heavy on that kind of stuff. When it comes to theory, learn theory as you need it. There's no point in learning all sorts of different scales and intervals and that kind of things if you're not going to actually use it. So you learn the theory as you need it, and you can disregard the rest then. So that theory in this case involves talking about, which chord to use and where on the fretboard. You do need, going to the effort of learning how to play bar chords is going to be not wasted entirely, but a lot of it will be wasted if you don't know where to actually put them. Obviously enough, right? So then the other aspect of it is there's the theory side, and then the other aspect is the physical side, and that's where the difficulty really is, because it does take quite a bit of torque to get them down. So of course the issue is the difficulty of holding all those strings down and not ending up with that, okay? So that is quite difficult. So a few things to make that a little bit easier. So first of all, now this is true for holding down notes in general, but particularly when it comes to bar chords. The closer you are, let's say we're behind the 5th fret here, okay? The closer you are to the fret that you're behind, the less pressure you need, the less squeeze you need to get a clean note, right? So if I just hold this one down here, I'll keep the same pressure on my finger and just kind of move it away from the fret. So see? So then I need to put down extra pressure to get a clean note again. So right up to that fret. Now that's true for all your fingers, but again, particularly for that first finger, your index finger doing the barring. Okay, next thing is that the bar should always be parallel to the fret, okay? So never have a slant on it like this, and try not to have your finger curved that way either. That's never going to work here, okay? Now it's more difficult than it looks. You might think it's, well, just straighten your finger, no big deal. It's kind of, you might find that it's actually difficult for your finger not to do this. Now, what I would say about that is that that's usually because your hand is just a bit closed a bit. So if you sort of just relax it a bit, it'll tend to open out a bit more, and then you can straighten that finger. It's a little bit similar to, for example, if we've got a D minor chord here. Again, I'll explain in a second why this is D minor, because normally it'd be like that. So here it is up here. Whoops. Now, let's say I want a D minor add 9, which would involve this finger going up here, okay? Now, if my thumb is up here, my little finger is never going to reach this fret. But if I bring my thumb back the way, so just to show you there, back the way, so not off to the side like that, but back the way. If I bring it back, then no problem. And there's a nice D minor add 9. So the point is that different, it's all one sort of working piece of equipment in your hand. So, different parts of it will affect others, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, keep it parallel to the fret, right up to it. Another thing is, instead of having your finger flat like that, okay, try to roll it back to the side a little bit with your nail facing the headstock, okay? Because your finger is harder on its side than it is in the middle there, okay? So yeah, turning it over, it'll hurt a bit more, but if you're doing bar chords, you're probably aware by now that playing the guitar is not a pain-free thing to do. So roll it back like that, okay? And now let's say that you're doing those things and it's still just not happening. Because that's a possibility, is that you can have your technique perfect and you can be doing all the right things, but at the end of the day, if you're not putting down enough torque, enough leverage, and all that kind of thing, it's just not going to happen, right? So, a couple of things you can do there. Number one is maybe the gauge 12 strings that you're probably using on the guitar might be a little bit heavy. So maybe go for gauge 11s. So won't make a world of difference, but it should make it a little bit easier. Another thing is you can just try exercise, just build up to it. So start off by taking 2 strings at a time, then 3, then 4, and use different frets as well, just to... Okay? One more thing. If it's one where you're holding down all 6 of them, this is probably not the best way to hold it down. So usually you're better off going up on it like that for better leverage, right? So like if you think about it, if you want to cut a piece of wire with the clippers, let's say, you're not going to put the piece of wire there. You'll put it right there so it can clamp down properly and get better leverage. Same is true here. Get up on it, okay? Now, not too... Obviously, there's a point of diminishing returns where you can't get the chord on, but just... So generally, when I do them, that's about where I am. So about an inch of my finger is coming up past the fingerboard there. So that's a couple of things you can do. So exercises and get different strings if it comes to that. So now, on the theory side of things then, let's say you're able to do it. So we've just taken that A minor there, up by 3 frets. Oh, and by the way as well, one thing I should have mentioned was, in this whole process, you have to do the chords in a way that allows your index finger to be free, okay? So, all that happens there, middle finger goes to where your index finger was, your third finger goes to where your middle finger was, little finger goes to where your third finger was. So it should sound exactly the same. Now, index finger is free, then we'll go up, let's say, 3 frets. So now what chord are we on? So what you need to know here to be able to figure that out is just all the notes, A and all the way up. So all you need to know there is the notes go from A to G. There's a sharp, every note has a sharp version of itself, let's call it, 1 fret or 1 semitone above the last, with the exception of B and E, right? So what that means then is that if we start off at A, 1 up from that is A sharp. Then B. Now B is one of the exceptions, so it doesn't have a sharp, so when we go up, we just go straight to C. C sharp, D, D sharp, E. E is another exception, so that just goes straight to F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and now once we get to G sharp, we don't go to H, we just go straight back, cycle around to A, and then the cycle just continues again. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, etc. Okay, so now, so with that in mind, if that's A minor, we take this up one, now we've got A sharp minor. Another one again, B minor. Another one again, C minor, and so on like we just did there. So, now there's a couple of other things as well that you can use in terms of theory, knowing where to put them and why and all that. One of them is you might have heard of, is called the caged system. Now, in the next video, I'll go through that. Personally, I don't find it very useful for reasons I'll get into in the next video. But the chords we're going to be focusing on in the next one are E minor, E major, A minor, and A major, played like that, okay? So those are the chords, those are the shapes we're going to be bringing up the fretboard, and that, for now at least, will be more than enough to get you started on bar chords. So next video, we'll talk about how to actually play those specific ones. All right, thank you.